నమస్కారం ప్రజావాహినికి స్వాగతం. నేను మీ అర్చనా స్వామి. ఈరోజు లైఫ్ స్టైల్ కార్యక్రమంలో మహిళల ఆరోగ్యం అలాగే గర్భిణులు తీసుకోవాల్సిన జాగ్రత్తల గురించి ఈ కోవిడ్ సమయంలో ఎలాంటి అత్యవసర జాగ్రత్తలు తీసుకోవాల్సి ఉంటుందో డాక్టర్ కవితా లక్ష్మి ఈశ్వరన్ గారిని అడిగి తెలుసుకుందాం. నమస్కారం కవితా లక్ష్మి ఈశ్వరన్ గారు, మా షోకి స్వాగతం.
నమస్కారం.
గైనకాలజిస్ట్ని కలవాలి అన్న అవగాహన మనలో ఎంతమందికి ఉంది? ఎంతమంది రెగ్యులర్గా తమ యాన్యువల్ చెకప్స్ని చేయించుకుంటున్నారు? హాస్పిటల్స్ ప్రమోట్ చేస్తున్నాయి, ఇన్సూరెన్స్ కంపెనీస్ ఎప్పుడూ వాటిని ముందంజలో చూపిస్తున్నాయి, ఎంఎన్సీలు వాళ్ళ విమెన్ ఎంప్లాయీస్కి చేయించుకోమని ఫండ్స్ రిలీజ్ చేస్తున్నాయి. అన్ని రంగాల నుండి సహకారం అందుతున్నా కూడా టెస్ట్ల తర్వాత ఒక కన్సల్టేషన్కి వెళ్ళి గైనకాలజిస్ట్ ఒపీనియన్ తీసుకునేది ఎంతవరకు? అది మారాలి అనేది ఎందుకు? మనం అడుగుదాం డాక్టర్ గారు అభిప్రాయం ఏంటో చెప్పండి డాక్టర్ గారు.
She is the pillar of the house, so the whole house is disrupted, right? So it is very important for a lady to not only look after others but also to look after her own health. That's very important. And it is not only for a pregnancy or for a definite problem that she should think of going to the hospital. She should also think of having an annual checkup, or certain tests have to be done once in 3 years and all that they have to do annual checkups. So that has created a different scenario now, but otherwise usually, like you said, it is only for these two conditions that they come to the hospital. So before these things happen, checkups are very important. Pre-pregnancy counseling sessions are very important. That can prevent a lot of problems and it can help them carry a healthy pregnancy. It can prevent a lot of complications. Similarly, a lady developing a disease, before she develops a disease, it is always better to screen it so that we can pick up a major problem much earlier than it could be picked up when she has symptoms. So it's very, very important that a lady at least gets herself checked once in a year after a particular age, say like 30-35 years of age. It's very important.
తెలుసుకున్నారు కదా యాన్యువల్ చెకప్ అనేది ఎంత ఇంపార్టెంటో. మనం అలా రెగ్యులర్ చెకప్స్ చేయించుకుంటే మన లోపల ఏమన్నా ఒక చిన్న తేడా ఉన్నా, లేకపోతే బ్లడ్ లెవెల్స్లో, థైరాయిడ్ లెవెల్స్లో ఎలాంటి లోపాలున్నా వాటిని మనం మెడిసిన్ ద్వారా అరికట్టుకోవచ్చు. ఒక తల్లి తన టెస్ట్స్ రెగ్యులర్గా చేయించుకుంటే తన పిల్లలకు కూడా అది చేయించగలుగుద్ది. తనకు ఆ అవగాహన లేనప్పుడు తన పిల్లలకు చేయించలేదు. మనం సాధారణంగా చూస్తూ ఉంటాం, పిల్లలు వాళ్ళ బయాలజికల్ మెచ్యూరిటీ రీచ్ అవ్వగానే వాళ్ళకు ఫంక్షన్ చేస్తాం, వాళ్ళకి ఏదో ఒక సెలబ్రేషన్ చేస్తాం. కానీ ఎంతమంది ఒక గైనకాలజిస్ట్ దగ్గరికి తీసుకెళ్ళి ఆ పిల్లలకు వాళ్ళ ఒంట్లో జరుగుతున్న చేంజెస్ గురించి ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తున్నారు? ఎంతమందికి ఆ అవగాహన ఉంటుంది? డాక్టర్ గారు, మీ అభిప్రాయం ఏంటి?
See, like I said, everything starts at the grassroots level. So the mother is the first person who can actually counsel her daughter as to what should be done or what should not be done. So if the mother is educated and she is counseled, like I said, with regular programs and activities, she'll be able to pass on that information to her daughter. That's the first step. Second step is again programs of this sort where when a girl attains her maturity, like you said, there are a lot of functions that are going on. If the women around in that function will also be able to educate her, that itself will be very good for her. But if that also doesn't happen and they need a little more information about what are the body changes and what has to be expected, then there has to be a good bond between the mother and the daughter and with her relatives who are ladies, and they have to, if they also don't know what to communicate, they should not have inhibitions to bring her to a gynecologist who can actually tell her what are the do's and don'ts. And especially in the Indian scenario now, where they're exposed to a lot of other social issues like peer pressure and even up to sexual activity, which I see of late. They should be definitely given a certain amount of gynec education and sex education as well to protect themselves from unwanted infections, unwanted pregnancies, and unwanted psychological trauma that they go through during that time, like you said, with the body changes. So it is very important to have a counseling. If parents don't know how to counsel, especially the mother, they should feel free enough to bring the daughter to the hospital.
పిల్లలకు వాళ్ళ పీరియడ్స్ని ఇప్పుడు చాలా చిన్న వయసులోనే పిల్లలకు వాళ్ళ మెన్స్ట్రువల్ సైకిల్ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది. దాన్ని వాళ్ళకు ఈజీగా ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్ళడం ఎలాగా అని ఎలా నేర్పించగలం మీరు చెప్పండి డాక్టర్. దానికి మనం ఏ విధంగా కృషి చేయవచ్చు?
See, first 2 years after menarche ante that is the first onset of period. So first 2 years after menarche is the time when children don't know what is right and what is wrong. So everybody, any symptoms that they have, they are put off saying that, you know, it is all, we all went through it, and those kind of things. So but first 2 years they can have irregular periods. Some children can have painful periods, spasmodic dysmenorrhea, but there are also other things which can cause delayed periods. So in first 2 years hypothalamo pituitary ovarian uterine act, but after 2 years is when all these symptoms surfaces or worsens out. When it happens, she definitely requires a consultation. So mothers have to be aware, or parents have to be aware, that she requires a checkup if she is having an unduly delayed period, or the period spacing of the period is getting worse, and if she has painful periods, because there are conditions like endometriosis other than spasmodic dysmenorrhea which should not be ignored. There are conditions like PCOD in delayed periods which should not be ignored. So for the first 2 years you can manage with, you know, saying that it's immature, or she can take some painkillers like plain paracetamol or antispasmodics. But always when it is more than a particular intensity, or it's a little doubtful as to what it could be, it is always better to come and do a checkup. So sometimes, you know, you just pick up. See, I had a 14-year-old girl whom I saw yesterday, and she had her first period say 2 years back and 2.5 years back. So she has very prolonged periods, like once in 6 months, and when I evaluated at the age of 14, she has hypothyroidism. So if had I not done those tests what were relevant, and had I not done a scan for her, I would have missed a very severe hypothyroidism which would have been detrimental for her intellectual function or for any function in the body. So sometimes, you know, you need to evaluate. You cannot just think young girls will not have problems. So sometimes, you know, I have picked up diabetes at the age of 10 years, not even before she has attained menarche. So it's very important to know your health changes and the bodily changes, and if the girl is uncomfortable or the mother is uncomfortable seeing her daughter going through all that, because mother is the first person to pick up a daughter's positive or negative vibes. So she needs to actually know this is the cutoff, like, you know, it's better I go and show her. They should never be shy of telling their mothers what they have, or the mothers should never be shy in taking her to the gynecologist. It's not just for pregnancy or for a disease. So that is the message I would like to communicate.
ఇప్పుడు మహిళల్లో మనం చూస్తున్నాం పాప్స్మియర్ టెస్ట్ చేయించుకోమని, సెల్ఫ్ ఎగ్జామినేషన్ ఆఫ్ బ్రెస్ట్ రెగ్యులర్గా చేసుకోమని చాలా చోట్ల వింటున్నాం. కానీ అది మన అర్బన్ ఏరియాస్లో తప్ప రూరల్ ఏరియాస్, విలేజెస్లో పెద్దగా ఎవరికి అవగాహన ఉండట్లేదు. దాన్ని మనం ఎలా ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్తాం, ఎందుకు తీసుకెళ్ళాలి, తీసుకెళ్ళడం వల్ల ప్రయోజనాలు ఏంటి?
See, anything that has growth has to start from the grassroots level. So it is not just that urban people are exposed to it. When there are medias like a newspaper or television or mass communication methods, and people are aware through WhatsApp and other things. I don't think in the rural area they don't have WhatsApp. I think they thrive on WhatsApp. I don't think it should be difficult for any communication that can reach the grassroots level of rural, this one, like there might be Anganwadis, there might be panchayat meetings. We can promote activities or can send advertisements or leaflets through the papers, or you can take small video recordings and circulate it on WhatsApp. Definitely information that every lady needs to do a checkup every year. Governments have to start propagating that. The local PHCs have to start talking about it. I don't think it's so difficult.
మహిళలు ముఖ్యంగా నెగ్లెక్ట్ చేయడం, లేదా సెల్ఫ్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ తీసుకోవడం మనం చాలా సర్వసాధారణంగా చూస్తున్నాం. అది చాలా అలవాటైపోయిన విషయంగా మనం భావించవచ్చు. కానీ సెల్ఫ్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ ఎన్నోసార్లు సివియర్ కాంప్లికేషన్స్కి దారితీయవచ్చు. సో మనం సెల్ఫ్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ కాకుండా డాక్టర్ గారి అభిప్రాయంలో ఏం చేయొచ్చు, ఏం చెయ్యాలి అని మనం ఎలా నేర్చుకోవాలి, దాని గురించి మాట్లాడదాం.
What I would say is, if a lady really cares for her family, she should take care of herself first, well, because she's the pillar of the family. Whether people would agree with me or on this or not, but I strongly believe a lady in the house, if she is healthy, if she is educated, and if she takes care of herself well, the family is, you know, in a certain different level, definitely. So she needs to know that if she really cares for her husband, if she really cares for her children or for her parents or for her in-laws, she has to go up and ask for help. Ignoring her problems does not mean she is a good wife or a good mother. If she really cares for herself, she should be the first one to go up to her husband or whoever is taking care of her to say that, see, I'm not feeling okay and I need treatment. Or she herself should come to a gynecologist and do it, because any delay in any kind of health issues can be detrimental to her life or to her her general well-being in life. You know, tomorrow it can have its own sequelae, its own complications, which might become a bigger problem and stare at her after a particular point of time, maybe in a few months' time or a few years' time. So any such problems, it is her, it should be her responsibility, if she is actually responsible to her family, to either approach her relatives to bring her to her doctor, or herself to, walk into a gynecologist's chamber and say, no, this is what I have a particular doubt. And awareness is being built, because I see a lot of women coming into OPDs saying, I have a doubt whether I have a lump in the breast, I have a doubt whether I have a hormonal imbalance, these kind of things. Again, this awareness can only be created by a lot of awareness programs that can be propagated, and education during the master health checks, or paper pamphlets and things like that. So this is the awareness which can bring them to hospital. Now, like I said, responsibility towards self can never be instilled. They are all adults and women who are taking the responsibility and shouldering the responsibility of a family. So they should also have a responsibility towards themselves by taking care of their health, their diet, their exercise pattern, and if there is any deviation from normal, they should come to the hospital and make themselves open for any checkup. Hiding that is not going to actually help them in any manner.
ప్రివెంటివ్ హెల్త్ కేర్ అనేది మనం పెద్దగా వినం. ఏదైనా ఒక జబ్బు చేసిన తర్వాత మెడిసిన్ తీసుకొని తగ్గించుకోవడం తప్ప, ముందుగానే అరికట్టవచ్చు అనేది ఇప్పుడు మనం తెలుసుకున్నాం. సో ప్రివెంటివ్ హెల్త్ కేర్ అనేది చాలా ముఖ్యం. ఇది మనందరిలో కూడా నాటుకుపోవాలని భావిద్దాం.
Like we always propagate, prevention is better than cure. That is what the worldwide concept is, that prevention is better than cure. And prevention methods, again, awareness, if you have to bring into the population, we need lot of screening programs, lot of educative programs, lot of doctors need to go out there in the public and say prevention is better than cure. And it is not only prevention which is important, early diagnosis of disease which is seen is very important. There is a limit to which a doctor can go out and propagate prevention modality or an early diagnosis modality or a screening program. So screening programs are the ones which help in prevention of disease. It helps in early diagnosis of disease. So both are very important, rather than symptoms happening and then going in for cure. I have always felt the mother in the house is the most important person, because if she is not there, the family goes off. She is the one who has the strength to tide over any kind of situation. So preventing any disease for her is very important.
కోవిడ్ టైంలో ప్రెగ్నెన్సీ అనేది చాలా క్లిష్టమైన పరిస్థితి. కానీ అమ్మతనాన్ని ఆస్వాదించాలనుకునే ఈ తరుణంలో ఎలాంటి జాగ్రత్తలు మనకు ముఖ్యంగా అవసరం? ప్రెగ్నెంట్ లేడీస్ ఎలా దాన్ని హ్యాండిల్ చేయగలగాలి, ఆనందంగా ఎలా ప్రెగ్నెన్సీని క్యారీ చేయగలగచ్చో మనం డాక్టర్ గారి అభిప్రాయాల్లో తెలుసుకుందాం.
See, pregnancy is an immunocompromised state. By immunocompromised state, ante we mean that there is a immunodeficiency. So immunity ante it is resistance to fight a disease. So when you are immunodeficient or immunocompromised, it means that you don't have enough immunity to fight a disease. Second point I would like to say here is, if you are pregnant, it is always better to follow safety precautions rather than get the disease. Now once the disease comes, it is going to be a bigger challenge because there is no absolute treatment for it. There is no absolute vaccination which will prevent the treatment for it. So having had the disease, the only thing you can do is keep your fingers crossed and pray to God that your whatever little immunity you have, it will build up on you. Follow all safety precautions so that neither the patient suffers from it nor their immediate family suffers from it. You cannot do a debonding with her child when the baby is inside the uterus. It can spread to the baby. We can't go in and treat. So second thing, after delivery also you cannot have social distancing with your own child. You need to feed your baby because that is what will give immunity to the child as well. Breast milk is rich in immune factors and antibodies. So it's very important to basically treat the lady with as much immune boosters as possible with the limited things that we have. It's mainly in the food, it is mainly in maybe we'll have to try certain viral boosters, but giving HCQ is, I wouldn't say completely contraindicated, but it's relatively contraindicated because it's not category A drug. It is either a category B or C drug. It comes in that. So what effects it would have in the long run, we don't know. And what impacts it can have through breast milk for the baby, we don't know. How much immunity the baby has in terms of antibodies that it has derived from the maternal blood or from breast milk, or how mature its immune system is when it is born, we don't know. So all that we can do is pray to God, boost up the immunity, give them HCQ without knowing the consequences. Counsel the mother and the family that these are the side effects. We don't have an absolute cure. Keep them in a hospital where they have all ICU facilities, just in case her respiratory system cracks down. I mean it gives way. It needs to be treated in a tertiary level hospital where there is a backup for a good physician, a good respiratory physician, a good ICU backup. There are ventilatory facilities. The baby also has neonatal ventilatory facilities and adequate support in terms of availability of treatment modalities, HCQ, any other vaccination if it comes up. Hope and pray that happens. We need to hope and pray that happens soon. That's all we can do. So prevention is again better than cure. So keep away, keep on social distancing. One more thing I would like to say in this is, when we call them for checkups also, we are calling them only for relevant checkups. The rest can be handled by video consultations. When they come for checkups also, we follow a proper PPE system. We would like them also to wear a proper mask, keep sanitizers with them. We are allowing only the patient inside the room in an OPD procedure because we are taking a lot of risk when we see one patient. So say an OPD of say 20-30 patients in a day, I'm giving you on an average, and if we see an attender along with them, say their husbands along with them, this phenomenon is always there in the Indian scenario, where can we bring our husbands in, can we bring our mothers in? It doesn't work that way. You're not only exposing them, you're also exposing every other patient who's coming beyond that, and you're exposing your doctor. If she stays healthy only, she'll be able to deliver you safely. So please understand that when we say please don't bring in your attenders, it's not to hurt your sentiments or anything like that. It is to prevent, because if I'm saying an X number of patients, if I see an attender along with them, it's going to be doubled. And suppose you are coming in as the 10th patient inside the OPD, no matter how much we we can keep the sanitary things right. If there are 20 people who have come in before that, your risks are getting multiplied that many number of times. So these are the only ways in which we can try to bring down the effect of the disease. We don't screen patients. 80 to 85% of corona positive patients are not symptomatic. We can only screen symptomatic patients. We don't have an infrastructure in India where we can screen the entire population, and you can't be just screening them every week. There is an expense associated with it. There are limitation of test kits that are there, and we can only screen patients who are coming in for delivery or for a procedure. We cannot be screening their family. So we are not sure of, though there is a declaration form which says we have not traveled, we don't have symptoms of COVID. We cannot go by that because 80 to 85% of patients or their attenders can be positive for corona. So there again, it is a self-responsibility, it's a social responsibility to understand that we also have limitations in screening and preventive modes. We can do certain things. You need to know what you can do for yourself. We need to know what we can do it from our end, but you can still get positive, because even on the way that you're coming to hospital, you can develop the disease. So it's very important to understand every rules and regulations that has been laid by the government or laid by the ICMR or by the WHO protocol or by your doctors or by hospital initiative. We are following government guidelines and we are trying our best to stall the disease, which is a very big challenge. I don't think it's going to be an easy thing just done like that, and neither a lockdown nor anything of that sort is going to help us for the next at least 2-3 months.
Every second day we hear a news about a vaccination or a new medicine that's been in the market, it's going to come. So people are already living with this stress and doctors are handling a lot of battles. But the fake news that's spreading around also is a big hassle. So how do people respond to that? Like, we do really need to wait for a vaccination to come, or the news that's coming out are like
See, there is something called a drug safety profile. And for us to say a drug or a vaccine is safe to be administered to humans, that is what we call a category A drug. It has to be first studied in animals. There has to be a randomized control trial. This is what the usual research does. It's not what I'm saying. This is what the usual research pattern is. There has to be a randomized control trial, and ideally for a drug to be released in the market with FDA recommendation or a safety profile recommendation or a US recommended profile, it has to be analyzed for at least 5 to 10 years in a randomized control trial. This is the actual truth. But in a scenario like this, they may not wait for 5 to 10 years. They might just go by the safety profile that they can gain out of using it for maybe positive cases, or whoever is volunteering to do that, or whoever is in that end level of disease where they have been able to pull them out of that. No doctor or any institution or any government has the guts to actually put it on a study directly on a human being at this point of time, especially when you are dealing with a disease which is having an immunity issue concerned with it. So I would say better not to rely on a vaccine or a drug. Once you've got it, maybe you can try out relatively safe drugs. HCQ is the only drug which has got a very bad safety profile as far as it's concerned. It can even cause a cardiac arrest if the patient's heart is compromised. So you cannot just pop it in and say, no, I'm doing a prophylaxis or I'm doing a treatment. It doesn't work that way. So that's the only drug which we have, and that's relatively contraindicated. It's not yet proven category A. So better not to rely on these kind of rumors. I strongly feel it's only the Chinese people who have already released the drug and they're just holding on, because where you see it's not increasing, either they are underrating the report or they do have a weapon against it which they have studied. So they will not release it into the market unless they are sure about the safety profiles, because they are already being blamed for the disease spreading as a pandemic. But I'm quite feeling, I have this gut feeling that they are ready with either a vaccine or a drug. But this is just my thought, you know. I cannot just say it on television that yes, it is ready or not ready. It might be something like that, because either they have stalled the disease because of that, because their numbers have not increased beyond 83,000 as far as I saw it last, or they are underreporting. So if they have been able to tide over that disease, definitely they might be having some things other than social distancing and lockdown that they have been able to stall the disease. So maybe something is ready with them, and I think it is only ready with them because no other country is able to stall the disease with either a vaccine or with a drug. So maybe it will come out in the market, and then it will be in very high demand. And we'll have to all take the risk and use the vaccine and look out for long-term effects, because this is a disease which has just come 3-4 months back, or say 6 months back, and we don't have safety profiles to say whether the vaccine is safe or the drug is safe, that it can treat whatever drug can treat, that is safe. So everything is by chance, everything is by risk. So whether to weigh the risk between risk and benefit between the disease, and weigh the risk and benefit with the drug or with the vaccine, is something which we have to all wait and see and decide.
మెడికల్ కేర్ యొక్క ఫ్యూచర్ ఎలా ఉంటుంది అని భావిస్తున్నారు? ఇప్పుడు ఈ ప్రస్తుత పరిస్థితుల్లో టెలిమెడిసిన్ చాలా ఎదిగింది అని మనం అనుకోవచ్చా? దానిలో వచ్చిన మార్పులు ఏంటి? ఈ కోవిడ్ పాండమిక్ తర్వాత ఒక నార్మల్ లైఫ్ మనం బతుకుతున్నప్పుడు ఇదంతా ఒక ఎపిసోడ్ లాగా మర్చిపోయేలాగా ఉంటుందా? దీన్ని మనం మన జీవితంలో ఒక భాగంలా క్యారీ చేయాల్సి వస్తుందా? ఇవన్నీ మనకు తెలియజేసిన డాక్టర్ కవితా లక్ష్మి ఈశ్వరన్ గారికి ధన్యవాదాలు. థ్యాంక్ యూ డాక్టర్ ఫర్ కమింగ్ ఇన్ మై షో.
Thank you so much.
ఇవన్నీ పాటిస్తారని భావిస్తూ కార్యక్రమాన్ని ముగిస్తున్నాను. లేటెస్ట్ అప్డేట్స్ కోసం బెల్ ఐకాన్ నొక్కండి. నిరంతరం చూస్తూ ఉండండి మీ ప్రజావాహిని.